Hey everybody, I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
Oh, and I'm Mike. Should I have said that second? I forgot.
Oh, whatever.
Okay.
I think we're just trying to
to.
sync up everything. We might even be able to just delete that out too.
Or we leave it in because it's natural.
Oh, it's 'cause it's
and
funny and
It's how it
natural.
happened. Yeah, exactly.
Hey everyone who's listening. Not to anybody who's no hellos to anyone who's not listening.
No, if you're not
But,
listening, we're not saying hi to you at all. We're not even
That's
speaking
right.
to you. That's right.
We're ignoring you deliberately. So we have a new voice and we have a new image and we have a new name and we have a new everything for today and not for perpetuity. Welcome to a new series called Mornings with Mike. And this is being recorded very early in the morning because Mike lives very far away from the brothers. So we had to get up even earlier. Isn't that how it works? Or are you up really early?
One of us is up early and the other person is up earlier. But
Ooh.
did you say new or nude? Because I may have misheard what you told me.
Let me say, Mike definitely misheard what we told him.
So let me go get dressed real quick and I'll be back.
We're in our Mornings with Mike studios, which is like our other studios, except it's in another vacant building, another vacant room in the same office building. We just go upstairs into other vacant rooms and take over.
It's weird how no one's here. Why is no one here?
Because it's abandoned.
No, I locked a bunch of people in a different room.
That explains the screaming.
Former guests. Yeah, we tried to start off this series called Mornings with Nick, and it just didn't go anywhere.
So we had to put Nick away.
I going backwards to the alphabet. Is the next one going to be like Mornings with Lisa?
That implies that there's a series of people on either direction of the alphabet.
I'm just assuming. I don't know.
Mornings with Zachary is what we started
that's
with.
where you started with, yeah.
Yeah, and I just stuck around, apparently.
What is like a Katamari Damacy thing where you just keep adding people?
Yeah,
rolling through it? Yeah.
So this is our episode 0 for everyone who can't read numbers, but this is going to be kind of where we talk about what we're going to be doing with this project and kind of getting our heads together around it and talking about how we're planning to do episodes going forward. So it's going to be a fun time because it's always a fun time.
Have fun anyways. Like, we're going to force you to have fun.
If anyone doesn't know, Mike Kaess is a famous YouTuber who reviews toys and open boxes.
He reviews open boxes?
Yeah.
No, he
only
reviews
open
toys
ones.
and you should now review
that is
box.
an open box. That's a real good. 5 of those 6 sides are closed off and the top is not, and I like it.
You should take it and you should check like the hinges and stuff like that and like move it around. the durability.
How accessible
test.
is this box?
You can see how the box stands at its widest stance. If it's open, this is this box at its widest stance.
See, that's funny because that's a callback to what I do with toys is I put them at their widest stance.
And there is a lot of intersection between toys and the things that Zachary and I have a podcast about called video games. Especially, there was a period of time in the world, I would say probably primarily for me, late 80s, early 90s, and throughout the 90s, maybe early 2000s, where companies that made toys also like to make video games to support said toys. Or a lot of times those like pop culture stuff, video games, you got toys, you got comics, and you got like this like multi-marketing thing that went across entire different I'm just in my head right now, all I'm thinking about is Batman for some reason.
I was thinking LJN. They had their hand in
Yeah.
They would do, video games and toys like Thundercats. And they had their little sticky fingers in every pot and did it all very poorly, but they did it. And it was a very big part of my childhood.
That's right, because LJN made bad games and they also made bad toys.
Yes, they did. Absolutely.
Wow. I feel like we definitely should talk about a lot of LGN properties going forward.
We probably will. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Though I was talking to Zach earlier today about how there was one property that never got a video game, and I'm really sad it didn't. And that was Street Sharks.
It was ripe for like a beat 'em up type video game.
Yeah. I honestly feel like .emu or whatever, the guys who just did the Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was going to say Turtles in Time.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it kind of is, but it's not. Yeah, but it's a great game.
It is. I have it on PC.
Mhm.
And what's cool about the PC version is it has couch co-op. So that means nobody else except one person has to own it.
Oh, that's cool.
And they can invite people to play their game with them, and you don't even have to install. You don't install it either, right, Zach?
No, yeah, basically it streams onto
That's
your
cool.
computer.
That's
Yeah.
actually really cool.
It streams out to other people's computers. You do need a good internet connection, especially the more intensive the game is or the more people that are connecting to you. But I'm on FiOS, so that's usually not a problem. But yeah, maybe one day the three of us will play
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Shredder's
down.
Revenge.
I got a PlayStation controller I can pair to my computer easily, and we
Nice.
could definitely, yeah.
And we have a Twitch that we don't use.
Yeah, we do have a Twitch that we don't use. And Mike, do you have a Twitch that you use?
I have a Twitch I occasionally use. Well, it's a weird situation with that because I started it a long time ago, and then do you know who Chris Pirillo is? He had a show on like Tech TV or like G4.
Oh, okay.
He hounds me to do toy stuff on it. Like he says there's not enough toy content on Twitter, on Twitch, I mean. So it's really weird. Like I grew up watching him on TV, and now like he bugs me on Twitter to like you should stream, and he's like rated my streams a couple times with his like 100 and whatever followers that he'll usually have.
Nice.
I'll be in the middle of like transforming like a transformer or something, and suddenly like 200 people are hanging out in my chat. It's really weird, but good, like a good weird. It's just something I'm not prepared for. So it's a very surreal situation for me.
I think our max viewers got to 3, maybe 4.
No, I think it was 5 once.
Oh, yeah, we did have 5.
I hit affiliate because he rated my stream so much. It put me over whatever I needed.
Oh, yeah.
To get there.
That's sweet.
So
We should see if he'll rate our stream.
I'll ask him. Yeah.
Don't ask him until we're ready, because
Right.
the last time we streamed was probably a year and change ago.
Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah. The last time we did was, I think, Buddy Simulator. That was a creepy game. If you're interested, Buddy Simulator 1984.
Yep.
So it starts off as like a text adventure, but the game will talk to you through like a command prompt, and will have you occasionally reboot the game. And as you reboot the game, it will evolve into a different type of game. It's a spooky game. But it also like it knows things about, because so it's on your computer, right? So like it knows like generally like who you are and what time it is and stuff like certain things.
It's
that the
like at your
computer knows.
search history, does it? Because
No.
Okay.
I think it just no. It just knows whatever like your.
hi, Mike. I
registry
see
information.
you like feet. No, I don't. No.
No, the Foot Clan.
No,
That's what I like.
yeah. It's a Ninja Turtle thing, man.
But the game itself evolves into different types of games, which is
It
cool.
sounds like
It gets
Evoland.
graphics and stuff.
Have you played Evoland?
Yes, yeah, I love Evil Land.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It's a fun like 2 maybe 3 hour game where you start off as
it's
like
really
a
short.
like a top down like Zelda adventure, and you actually unlock the ability to like move left and right. And as you play, you go through like you upgrade to like 3D, and then you go into like a Diablo style game, and then you go into like a Legend of Zelda style game, or like a more like 3D Zelda style game. But you kind of evolve through a couple different. There's like a Final Fantasy segment where all the backgrounds become like pre-rendered. It's a fun game. I think the Diablo one was a lot of fun because you keep picking up items and stuff off the ground to equip, and it's pretty funny. Like there's some pretty funny moments in it. But
Yeah.
it sounds like that, but a little bit more, maybe more meat to it.
This is like that, but horror themed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I enjoy stuff like that because it's kind of fun. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check out Evoland. Whenever I hear Evo in any sort of game, I immediately think of Evolve, Combat Evolved,
Mhm.
which was that weird game where you played as.
No, Combat Evolved is Halo.
No. What's the Evolve? Oh no, Evolva.
Yeah, Evolvo or Evolva. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a game called Evolva where you play as a mutant creature, and you have to like, it's like almost like Spore-ish, but with combat, and you evolve your character to get spikes. And I think I was the only person that owned it.
Like in the world. Yeah.
And
They
I
sold
only
one
sale.
copy. It was like that one time I paid to register WinZip. They sent me an email like, "Did you mean to do this?"
LGR, he registered his copy of WinZip, didn't he?
They sent him a CD-ROM, and then he asked if they could send him a floppy.
Yeah,
And they did.
It's kind of like the shareware games where you used to like mail in that you wanted to buy the game to somebody's house, and then they put it on like a floppy disk and mailed it back to you.
I am old enough to have done stuff like that. I remember downloading games off of BBS. I played Wolfenstein off of a floppy disk I got from, I think, like an Egghead like software or something like that.
So I played Wolfenstein from, I don't think Zach played it because I think he was too young, but my dad worked for and they changed out their computers and somebody left a copy of Wolfenstein in one of their computers. And so he took it and brought it home. He wanted to play it, so he was playing Wolfenstein, and he then hid it in his roll top desk that I would just go in and take when he wasn't home, and then I would play Wolfenstein. There were no toys for Wolfenstein, or are there toys for Wolfenstein?
No, not that I know of. There are for Doom, but I don't think there are any toys for Wolfenstein. Not even the newer Wolfenstein games that I know of.
What is it, McFarlane who makes toys for everything?
Yeah, for pretty much all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your thoughts on like the McFarlane style of toys where they make, well, you know, like the Stranger Things line and stuff like that?
They're fine. They're not really my cup of tea. There's like nothing wrong with them. I do think the proportions are a little weird. Like they tend to have like weirdly thin waists, because he wants to get like that ab crunch in there or whatever. So I think the proportions can kind of get a little weird, but I think there's definitely a market for people that love that stuff. Like they have the DC, he has DC license right now, and every other figure is a Batman, and between every Batman figure, he releases some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, I never really got into McFarlane. I do own, he did a Spawn Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I own that. And honestly, I kind of regret it. I'm probably going to sell it just because like I don't really like Spawn that much. I don't know why I bought it, other than like a weird FOMO moment for me where I'm like, oh man, $70 and everyone's buying it. Like I should buy it too. And I don't care about Spawn almost at all.
Spawn did have toys and a video game.
And a video game and a movie. Yeah. Spawn had pretty much he even had like a TV show or a cartoon.
He showed up in a Sonic comic once.
He did? Yeah, Spawn's been everywhere.
I have that comic, the Image crossover. It's weird.
McFarlane is that's Spawn. That's his baby, isn't it? That's like
Spawn is his baby. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then he decided to make toys.
Yes. Well, it's because I think no one wanted to make toys of Spawn. So he's like, well, fine. I'll make my own toys. Yeah.
He seems like the kind of guy who's just like, I'll make my own imprint or my toys. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
I did have one Spawn figure growing up. Oh, what is it? The Valator?
Oh, Violator?
Violator. Yes. I had Violator, but he wasn't posable.
Well, that was a problem with most McFarlane toys up until very recently, have had almost no articulation whatsoever.
Right.
He basically sells statues.
Made out of cheap plastic.
Yeah. He's changed that in the last like 3 or 4 years where things now have posability. But that was like, I'll say McFarlane Toys was important to the toy community because it was the first company and he was the first person making toys where he put like form over function. Like he cared more about how they looked than how they moved or having like gimmicks or action features. He wanted them to look cool, already usually pre-posed in some kind of dynamic pose. And that was one of the reasons why they didn't have articulation, because that was the only way to get that pose to work or whatever. But up until McFarlane Toys, most toys you bought didn't care about that. Like you had to squint to see a passing resemblance over, like take Star Wars toys from even the 90s. You know, you had the big buff Luke Skywalkers and things like that. We're like, yeah, I mean, it does. It looks like Luke Skywalker in the sense that he's white, he's a man, he has blonde hair. But like, you can't tell me that's Mark Hamill, things like that. Where
it's Mark Hamill when he has his Wheaties,
right? Basically, and only Wheaties, and on the Wheaties he puts steroids. Yeah. It's even in like the late '80s or like early '80s, like the vintage toy lines. Things have never really kind of looked like how they were on screen. They never really went. They didn't care about that because they figured kids didn't care about that. And suddenly Todd McFarlane comes along and he's like, I care about this. I want my Spawn figure to look as cool as possible and as accurate as possible. And that sort of had this change, like this paradigm shift in the toy community where companies started to adopt that more. The toy companies now owe a lot to McFarlane Toys in the 90s.
I was going to say, I feel like because if we didn't have McFarlane do what he did with his toys, we wouldn't have things like NECA.
Yes, absolutely.
And NECA puts out some like very niche line of toys. Like they did their NES themed action figures based on Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Or like the Batman
the Batman ones. Yeah. So, and we definitely wouldn't have that without without
for
McFarlane
sure.
toys. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Man, the one property, NECA, if you're listening to this somehow, NECA, just hear me out. Krull action figures based on the movie Krull, the 80s seminal hit, the phenomenal movie of Krull that wants to be Star Wars and Lord of the Rings at the same time. Just do it. Just give us some Krull figures. I'm down. I'm in. I'll buy the whole line.
They just do a Mike Kaess Kickstarter.
Right?
They'll be like, here we go.
I want some Krull figures, man.
If Mike gives us $1,000, we'll run off a line of Krull figures.
Robbie Coltrane was in that movie. Come on, man.
I love Robbie Coltrane.
I know. Liam Neeson was also in that movie.
My wife and I, we like campy
Sure.
movies to watch. And we watched the 1984 movie, The Ice Pirates.
Ooh, classic.
With
I love the Ice Pirates.
with Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only watched it because we go antiquing and we came across a booth and they had a bunch of old VHS tapes. And I saw the cover of Ice Pirates and I was like, what is this movie about? Like, what is going on? And my wife was like, we need to watch this movie. So we went home and I streamed it from Amazon, and it was fun.
It is a movie you can watch. That's for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
That's right. At some point in time, there's like herpes on the ship. It's just,
Oh
it gets
yeah,
weird.
no, it gets real weird. Yeah.
I got into a phase a few years ago where I decided I was going to watch movies that were made after Star Wars but wanted to be Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
So
and
I
that's
watched-
one for sure.
Yeah, I watched Star Crash, Ice Pirates, Battle Beyond the Stars, and Message from
Last
Space.
Starfighter.
Yeah, Last Starfighter. And I think the only one I didn't end up watching, but I'll probably watch it anyway, is Black Hole, which
Okay, yeah, that's
is
right.
like 100% wanted to be Star Wars, but is not Star Wars. My personal favorite is Star Crash, just because it's Star Crash. It's such a great schlock movie.
80s movies are great. I like that level of camp. I guess that camp, I don't know. I just feel like there's something about we were also watching, we like the older like horror movies as well when it's Halloween time, and we watched the one with Vincent Price in the mansion. He's like The House on the Haunted Hill, and at some point in time Vincent Price is like manipulating some sort of like device that causes a skeleton to like puppet around. It's very interesting. Yeah, the House on the Haunted Hill. It's a really good camp, like a good Halloween flick. I recommend it during like the October time to watch it. In July or June, wherever we are now, is not. It wouldn't be the same.
It doesn't hit right. No, you have to.
No.
Yeah.
Going back though too, I did look up to see if there were any Wolfenstein toys, and there was a special release figure that came out with New Colossus. So I don't know if it really counts.
Oh,
because,
okay.
But
Disposable?
it looks like it is. I've
It's
only
'cause
seen
if it's-
pictures of it in box on eBay, but it's supposed to. It's like a 1 foot tall figure based on the G.I. Joe, like classic G.I. Joe line,
yeah.
with like fabric clothing. And it's supposed to be from a alternate universe G.I. Joe called Elite Hans. And it's part of their Enemy series. And it's Terror Billy. So it's BJ Blazkowicz.
Right.
But like it says on the back, like William Blazkowicz is a terror to the Reich and stuff like that.
How much is it going for?
Like $30 still in box.
Oh
It's-
man.
Oh, dang.
That's maybe something I buy. That just sounds fun. My wife's dad has a collection of the OG G.I. Joes. I believe in box as like retirement, the 12-inch scale that was bought for him like when G.I. Joe were selling 12-inch scale dolls.
Back in the
Yeah.
60s and stuff. 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think G.I. Joe is this fascinating thing where you went from like this classic toy line to the 80s cartoon to an 80s toy line to then video games based on G.I. Joe, the 80s toy line / cartoon.
Yep.
It's like the cyclical nature of toys.
Who were we just talking about where the character was based on the G.I. Joe?
Oh, there's a character in Assassin's Creed.
Altair. They took inspiration from not Snake Eyes.
Storm Shadow. That's the white ninja guy.
The White Ninja. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so they wanted Altair to be Storm Shadow
Okay.
in regards to his personality.
I had never put that together, but I can see it now.
Yep.
For sure.
They're like, we want an anti-hero that's like Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe. Because sometimes Storm Shadow is a friend of the Joes and sometimes he is not a friend of the Joes.
Yeah, he goes back and forth as in the comics, in the cartoon, and I guess in the movie too. If you could sit through the Snake Eyes movie, it was not good. It was not a good movie. I regret having watched it, honestly.
Not the one that came out in like 2010, right?
No, not the one with Christopher Eccleston.
No. That's one of those movies where I didn't like the first one, but I legitimately and unironically enjoy the second one, the Retaliation with The Rock in it.
Yeah.
I don't even feel bad that I enjoy that. I actually really enjoy that movie. The first one wasn't very good, and the new one is garbage. But Retaliation, mwah. And Storm Shadow's in that, and he's great in it, and he's kind of a good guy. So again, kind of that cyclical nature. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the anniversary for the original cartoon movie, wasn't it? I thought they were doing some screenings.
They just did it.
Of
Yeah, they just did screenings. Yep. Yeah. So even just today, the date of this recording, Hasbro launched a $300 HasLab for G.I. Joe in their 6-inch scale, and it funded in 8 hours. I backed one because it's the Cobra Hiss tank, and it looks rad. It projects a Cobra symbol on the ground in front of it.
That's perfect.
It's a rad. It's got like working treads and stuff. Like,
is it your strategy to back two and sell one?
Yeah, so that's the thing. If you back two and sell one, the one you sell will pay for the one that you bought. So it's like you spent no money at all. And I don't feel bad doing this because since it's a made to order crowdfunded thing, like buying an extra one isn't taking one away from anybody. So you're not scalping.
Right.
You're creating one that didn't exist before you ordered it.
And then selling it for the market conditions.
Exactly. Anyone can buy basically as many as they want. You want to buy one, you can buy one. You want to buy 10, you buy 10. You know, you're not taking any away. They'll make all the ones that people order. So, but once that August rolls around, you know, like it's done. That's it. So instantly, as soon as that ends, you're at market prices, you know, which easily doubles what you bought. So you can easily get, you know, $600 for a $300 toy, if not more, depending on like if there are any tiers or whatever that unlock things like that. So I'm in on at least one. I'll probably back two, but we'll see.
And you've backed a few HasLab stuff.
I have, yeah. Yep.
Including Unicron, right?
I have Unicron. I only did one of those because he was $600, and that's just yeah. I didn't have $1,200 at the time to drop, but I have Unicron. He's the only one I have currently. I banked the Rancor, but it didn't fund.
Right, I remember that.
Very sad.
Very sad. I backed the Sky Striker out of spite because the Rancor didn't fund and it was ending like the day after. So I'm like, fine, I've got this money. I might as well back something. So I don't know if I'll keep the G.I. Joe Sky Striker or I'll sell it. But I backed two of those because two of those were cheaper than it was about the same price as one Rancor. Anyways, and then I backed the Victory Saber.
Oh, okay.
As a Japanese only Transformer that was actually pretty popular. So I got two of those coming as well.
And Transformers has video games that exist.
Yes. Yeah. Some are Japanese exclusive.
Yes, like the old like Nintendo, like Commodore.
Yeah, there's and there's the Famicom one that was
the Famicom one. Yeah.
And originally was a Japanese toy line before it was adapted over. It's a combination of two toy lines, right?
Yes, Diaclone and Micro Change or Microman, I think. And you can tell because the things that turn into real world objects, like tape players or a gun, or even the little like Bumblebee, he's supposed to be a little penny racer, the Takara penny racer. Anyways, so those were part of the micro change lines because they were supposed to be things that turned into like real world objects. And they were actually supposed to be like life size. Like the robots were that size in that property. So like Soundwave or whatever he is in the micro change line, he turns into the cassette player, but when he's in a robot form, he really is supposed to be like that tall. And then the ones that turn into cars and like the Dinobots and things like that was from the Diaclone line. And they actually originally had little pilots. They were robots that were piloted by people. They weren't like sentient robots.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, I have so much stupid useless knowledge that is only useful in situations like this where people on podcasts ask me about these things.
Well, I mean, we'll probably do a dedicated episode to Transformers, to G.I. Joes, to Star Wars Forever.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles. I'm
of course
Ninja
Turtles.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, of course not Ninja Turtles.
Of course
not.
I
was like, of course, no Ninja Turtles. They're out.
Fun fact about Ninja Turtles: it was originally created as a parody for Daredevil.
Yeah, and I've read the original, not like an actual original trade. I read like it was like a reprint, but it's a lot edgier. Like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Comedically edgier, but like like Shredder dies in the
Yes, he does,
like
yeah.
in the first
No,
comic.
yeah, he does. Yeah. Well, that's why if you watch the 1990 movie, you'll notice it's geared a lot more towards adults with like swearing and the violence and things like that.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they were actually basing it off the comics and started creating it before the cartoon made it popular.
That makes sense.
So they were making the movie for the people that enjoyed the comics, not
Yeah.
the cartoon.
That movie is a masterpiece.
Oh, it's great. Even today, it holds up.
Such a good movie, but such a tonal shift between those movies. If you could watch the
yeah,
first
100%.
movie and then watch
Yeah.
like the third movie.
Well, even the second movie,
The second with Vanilla Ice.
they don't use their weapons at all in the second movie. to
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
It's so weird. You're right. There's a huge tonal difference there.
I watched the first one a lot, but because I think we owned it on VHS or
I think
what have
we
you.
had it taped, I think.
Yeah.
Did you have it on tape or did you have it taped off TV? Because
I think we had it taped off of TV.
Off TV because
Okay.
we were cheap.
Oh, gotcha. I think I got it for my birthday on tape. And because like every kid that had it on tape, the Suburban Commando trailer, because it was in front of that. There was another trailer for some TV family comedy, but they actually changed the name before it was released. And then there was a Pizza Hut commercial. I can't think of the song right now, but if any other time, if you ask me, I could think of the song. It's that you're in right field. It's important to know. You got to know how to catch.
I play right field. It's important you know. You gotta know how to catch. You gotta know how to throw. That's why I play in right field, way out where the dandelions grow.
As a proud sponsor of Little League Baseball, Pizza Hut welcomes all the kids who make it great.
Making it great.
That song, like any kid that had it on VHS, that stuff is like ingrained into your memory. Because back in VHS, you had to watch those things before you got to the movie. So it's like you had to sit through them to watch the movie. Because my dad wouldn't let us rewind or fast forward because he said it hurt the tape.
Which it
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, it did. Well, you obviously had to rewind it when it was done, but like he didn't like pausing. He didn't like fast forwarding or rewinding unless you had to, because he didn't want to ruin the tape.
Yeah, I remember, I think her dad might have said the same thing when I remember Seth used to like rewinding one scene in Return of the Jedi right before they blow up the shield generator, because you can see where this swaps from the practical shot to the matte painting or something like that.
Yeah.
And Seth loved to pause it and point it out. And I remember he would do that. He would rewind the tape specifically for that moment every time we watched Return of the Jedi. I think at one point our dad was just like, don't do that anymore.
That's a lot nerdier than I thought you guys were going to get, because there's that one scene in Return of the Jedi where Ula falls into the pit and her boob pops out of her dress. And that's where I would pause and rewind.
No, we weren't doing that with that or Roger Rabbit. We were trying to stop it.
But that's just the live action turtle movie. I just felt there was a lot of like depth for people who were wearing essentially full on rubber suits.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
very little facial expression. It was just like with the shot of like Raph like sitting like all dejected and stuff. It's just a powerful movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was Jim Henson's last movie that he worked on.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought that as a child growing up, I would run into more hoodlums though.
Yeah, that was one of those problems you thought would be a lot more prevalent than they ended up being. That and Quicksand.
I watched the Double Dragon movie, and they make it seem like there's like tons of childhood gangs out there who are all themed on different
Absolutely,
things.
yeah.
Like this gang is all chefs for some reason.
We're part of the chef gang.
I don't think I've seen the Double Dragon movie.
It's a
You don't
mess.
have to.
Yeah,
You
it
don't have
is an
to.
absolute mess.
It came out, I think, around the same time that the Street Fighter movie came out.
Yeah.
You're better off watching the Street Fighter movie, in my opinion.
I did rewatch the Super Mario Brothers movie recently. I
Ooh.
make it like a weirdly semi like biannual thing where I have to sit down and watch it because it's just
Hold on,
gets
you
caught
watch
in my
it
head
every 2 years or twice a year?
every 2 years or so.
Okay,
Sorry.
I was like, twice a year.
It's not like it's not like the Star Wars holiday special where I do watch
Okay.
that every single year.
Zach's like, 6 months has passed. Time to watch
Time
Mario.
to watch Mario Brothers.
But like me and my friends were talking about how if it's a really bad Mario themed movie, but it's not
yeah,
a
100%.
bad it's not like a bad like post-apocalyptic movie.
That's actually weirdly true. Yeah.
If you take out all the Mario references, it's like a solid like 80s post-apocalyptic film. And then like you just add in Mario, it's like, this is a worse movie.
It's a little cyberpunk, like
yeah, it is.
absolutely. Yeah.
I was always the child that was disappointed when the live action started for any movie that had like a cartoon intro, like Pink Panther or the Mario Brothers movie. I was always like kind of disappointed when like it switched over. I was like, can we just watch this whole thing as a cartoon? Like, why do we have to go to this live action? And I was always sad that we had to go to live action.
The Mario Brothers one is such a tease because it starts out literally with the like classic Mario Brothers theme, and then it segues into the whole storyline about dinosaurs.
Yep. But speaking of movies that got terrible toys, that movie is one of them. I remember going to the store. I didn't know the movie was coming out. Like because you're a kid, you don't really pay attention to that stuff. But I remember going to the store and suddenly on pegs, Mario Brother, the movie toys, and that's how I found out there was going to be a movie. And they had the Goomba, they had Mario, they had Luigi, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this. There's going to be a Mario Brothers movie. I'm actually talking like that as a small child. It's this weird faux Italian New York accent. Mamma mia!
Just grabs them all off the peg and just like storm to the register. But the toys, did they resembled the people from the live action movie though?
Oh yes, no, it was 100% based on the live action. So the Goombas were these big dudes with the little heads instead of the short mushroom things that we all know.
And Cooper's blonde Dennis Hopper.
Exactly, yeah, with his weird cornrow spike things.
I haven't watched the Mario movie in a long time. I don't watch it every 2 years with Zach. but I do. I feel like Bowser reminds me a lot of the dad from the Dinosaurs television show. The vision of his face in my head is like, I think of it, and then I think of
from
like
at the very end where he like turns
he does
into
get
the
devolved
actual...
and is
yes. Because throughout the rest of the movie, he's just a guy wearing a suit.
No. When he becomes Bowser at the end, yes. That like I marry up that image of Bowser in my head to the dad from the Dinosaurs.
Well, now I'm just imagining Koopa, but to the Dinosaurs theme song. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I just imagine that right now. It's pretty good. Not the mama.
Not the mama.
Not the mama.
Not the mama. Not the mama.
You do that one more time, and I'm going to throw you across the room.
Not the mama. Wee, oof.
I think there was a Dinosaurs video game too.
Was there Dinosaurs toys?
There were definitely Dinosaurs toys. I definitely had one for the baby, and I think I had the dad.
See, look, we're just opening up new content.
You're opening up like repressed memories is what you're doing, because I hadn't thought about that.
Maybe there wasn't. For some reason, Wikipedia decided to link a different video game that has dinosaurs in it, but it's not dinosaurs. It's just...
Oh, is it Dinosaurs for Hire? The greatest video game of all?
No, it's Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
I was going to say, is it Cadillacs and dinosaurs?
Cadillacs and dinosaurs is also a fair link.
Also great, yes.
Dinosaurs for Hire and Cadillacs for Dinosaurs are two very good games.
Yeah.
I own the graphic novel of... I was actually in California when I discovered it. We went to some antique store in Cannery Row, and the fun part about going to antique stores when you're not in your home state is that all the antiques become that state's antiques. Right. So like we were in Cannery Row, so there was a lot of like Cannery Row antiques. So then things that other people who live in that area are like, this is garbage. I'm like, oh, this is treasure. But while I was there, I found the graphic novel for Dinosaurs for Hire, which makes me very happy, it's a graphic novel about mercenary dinosaurs.
That sounds awesome.
There is a video game of it too. I don't know if there were toys.
Yeah, I feel like I would have been in on that if there were toys, because I was pretty much in on anything that was dinosaur themed, especially as a kid. So like Dino Riders, all of that stuff. I was,
or
if it was dinosaurs,
Jurassic Park.
Oh, definitely Jurassic Park. I think I had a complete collection of Jurassic Park figures as a kid. Even there's like a couple at the end where they didn't get really good distribution. Like I had 2 of the 3 hardest to find ones, and I'm pretty sure one of the evil Dino Raiders or Dino Trackers or whatever didn't get released in the United States, so I never got that one. But I pretty much had everything.
Dino Riders, though, I think is, no offense to Jurassic Park, great film. Dino Riders is a very cool concept. It's just dinosaurs with like guns.
Yes.
Being ridden by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
I had the dinosaur that had the chunk missed out.
A lot of them did that. That was like the dino damage. Yeah.
I think I had the T-Rex. If I found the dinosaur in the wild, like if I saw, not like a real dinosaur in the wild, if I found the toy in the wild, I would be able to.
I'm disappointed now.
I don't know if I would be able to identify the actual dinosaur in real life, but I would be able to identify the toy.
Oh, they still do the battle damage thing too. I just pulled up a picture of Jurassic World has a Velociraptor they do.
And there were Jurassic Park video games. There was one on the SNES where it went into first-person mode.
Yes, it was one of the first games to do that.
You would wander around in third-person mode, and then you would go into first-person mode for exploring dungeons.
There's a YouTube channel called You Can Beat Video Games. I don't know if you've seen this, but he goes through basically all these old games, and he recently did Jurassic Park for Super Nintendo, and it was fun to watch.
I watch a lot of SNES Drunk.
Oh, SNES Drunk's great too. Yeah, you should hit up You Can Beat Video Games. Seriously, go check out his channel. It is one of my favorite channels on YouTube. He's got a pretty good sense of humor, and he basically goes through the whole game playing it, but then he also gives you like fun tips and tricks to kind of cheese through the game. But like it's really interesting. He does a good job.
Are they actual plays? Are they the long, like, so they're long videos?
It's not a full-on unedited Let's Play, but you'll see the whole game and he'll comment on it. So you won't see like any flubs or failures or anything like that, but he does a good job of getting you through the game so you can kind of experience it.
Nice.
I think his first one he did was on the original Nintendo Entertainment System Ninja Turtle game.
Very difficult game.
Very difficult game, but he made it look really easy, and he's like, yeah, and if you go here, you can refill all your turtles by exiting here and entering here. So it gives you like all those little tips and tricks and stuff. Anyways, I really like his channel. I recommend it. It's a good watch.
Nice.
He releases, I think, a new video every Saturday.
I feel like it's almost like how people who are younger than us get interested into the older games, because they don't, obviously someone who's younger than us doesn't have the nostalgia for these games because they didn't play them when they were a child. So they will only get introduced to these video games if A, their parents have a nostalgia and want to introduce them to them, or B, they watch some popular YouTuber either using it as satire or playing through it as more of a historical type of situation, which I think is a unique way that we start archiving.
Like Gaming Historian. Love that channel too. Yeah.
I can appreciate your level of Star Wars fanness. I unfortunately have not watched Obi-Wan yet because I'm a
little. Why am I even here? Why am I even here?
I'm really disappointed in Seth.
I'm a little Disney Plused out right now.
Seth, it's so good.
I'll start watching it.
I'm gonna make sure the next
Please
time we
do.
record, he has watched it.
I won't talk to you again until you've seen it.
Wow.
After this is done, if you message me on Messenger or whatever. Like, no,
straight up ignore me.
Dunzo. It's not until you could tell me how it ends.
But you can't look that up, Seth. You have to.
Don't ruin it for yourself. Don't ruin it for yourself.
Without revealing much, there's tiny lines in the last episode that made me very happy, and I can't wait to watch New Hope again.
I should watch New Hope again. It's been a while since I've watched the OT.
Watch it after you watch Obi-Wan
first.
Watch
Obi-Wan first.
Make that
watching
the goal.
Obi-Wan will make you want to watch
Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
but then I have to watch Obi-Wan and then Rogue One, right?
Yeah, you can. You can, because they both kind of flow into it. But Obi-Wan takes place 10 years before both of those.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then that would be good. Obi-Wan, Rogue One, and then
I will
OT.
say, did you play Jedi Fallen Order?
I've played a good portion of Jedi Fallen Order.
But you haven't finished it.
No, because I'm bad at Souls games.
It's not a Souls game.
Oh, Souls-like games.
You can turn it on story mode. If it's got difficulty levels, it's not a Souls-like game. But there's an episode of the Obi-Wan series that if you've played pretty far into the Jedi Fallen Order, you the whole episode you're like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme. We're like, I know that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
But yeah, and I mean they have had toys, and you've collected toys.
I
of
have
Star Wars.
Every Black Series figure released so far, and it's an illness, and it's a cry for help.
That's a lot of them.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And you're pretty passionate about the Black Series. I mean, you have a podcast.
I have a podcast. Yeah, a little self-plug there, I guess, for my other podcast.
Yeah, of course.
The Black Series Cantina, where I have my other buddy, Zach, who is, I know, right? And then actually I have a Transformers podcast I do with a friend
buddy, Zach.
named Zach. Yeah.
So many Zachs?
So many Zachs.
Mike can only be on podcasts with Zachs.
That's fine.
There must be
people.
a Zach. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so he's on Instagram as @the Star Wars Black Series. So he's got a pretty popular Instagram person. Anyway, we started a podcast back in September where we just talk about Black Series figures and Black Series news and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's moderately popular, and I'm pretty pleased with how it's coming out. So if you want to hear me talk more about toys for a longer period of time, go check that out. It's on pretty much every platform.
Yeah, it's a great listen. I was listening to your Rancor episode when I was playing Red Dead Redemption. It was a very somber episode with a very somber game.
We were sad. We were both very invested in that Rancor, and the fact that it didn't fund by like less than 500 backers. It needed 9,000, and I think it ended at like 8,500 and something. But it was sad. We were sad.
I feel like, based on my understanding of how it unfolded, though, I feel like Hasbro could have done a little bit better of a job.
Oh, definitely. A lot of the fault lands on the Hasbro Star Wars team for sure.
They should just know who they're selling to.
Yeah. No, Hasbro's not blameless by far. They fumbled the very least they fumbled the marketing. I'm one of the people. It was like it was either 350 or 300. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it was pricey. It's a lot. But I was of the opinion, like, I was in before they announced any extras or any tiers or anything like that, because they have this thing where if they sell so many extras, they start adding stuff in to it, and I was like, nope, for me, like, this is worth it just at that price, exactly how it is. But a lot of people didn't feel that way, I guess, and Hasbro just didn't do a good job of selling it. I think they thought that it would sell itself, and it did not, and didn't sell itself.
The HasLab is really designed around targeting the nostalgia buyer.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like, little kids aren't dropping $300, $400 on a toy. It's people like me who are doing that. Yeah.
Especially because usually they're like things from like our childhood that they're repacking. So it's not even like they're like, oh, we're going to do a HasLab for something new. They're like, we're doing a HasLab for Hero Quest.
Well, that's different. Yeah. That's actually the only one they've done that. Everything else has been new in the sense that there's been nothing like this at that scale. So like the first one they did was the sail barge, and they did that specifically because they've never made a sail barge for 3 3/4 inch figures before, because it's so big, and it retailed or it went for like $500 or whatever, and it was huge. It's a huge thing, and they'd never done it before. So that was like the allure of that, was finally after 30 or 40 years or whatever of having Return of the Jedi and never having a proper Jabba sail barge, like now you can do it. It's stuff like
they should make a 6-inch scale sail barge.
No way. No. I wouldn't even know where to put it. Like I have no idea where I'd do with that. It's just
make it on sheet metal and put it outside.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I have the Unicron, and it takes up, seriously, like, volume of my room. It takes up a good 10% of this room. It's like a good chunk of this corner up here is dedicated to, and it's in planet mode because it's way big in robot mode.
I think I remember seeing pictures of when you got that, and you were like, I don't know what to do with this thing.
I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, when I pulled it out, I just stared at it for like a good hour. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
I watched the assembly of it. That was fun.
It was fun. Scary, because like I don't want to break it, and like it's like a $600 toy, and like I don't know.
I think when a toy hits $600, it's not really a toy
It's
anymore.
not a toy. It's not a toy.
I definitely feel like there has to be some level of breakability with a toy. Like, I collect a lot of Legos, and the cats enjoy knocking Legos down. But the best part about when Legos go down is you can just put them back together.
They pop right back on. Yep.
Yeah, you just put them back together and you put it right back up on the shelf. The only issue is if a piece goes and scatters, then there is the difficulty of tracking it down. Oh, and Legos, they have toys and video games.
That's true.
Did you see that nice
And
segue right there?
they have toys and video games based on things like Star Wars and whatnot. So my wife is actually in the other room playing the Skywalker Saga on our PlayStation.
Nice.
It's a fun game. Like we actually played it together, 2-player mode, through the entire 9 movies. And now she's going back and like unlocking things and
oh, sweet,
getting characters and all that stuff by herself, because I don't care about that. I just want to play through the story.
Yeah, I'm a definitely the same type of, like, I generally want to play through the story, but I'm the kind of person that I want to play through the story, but I want to see all the aspects of the story when I play through it once. So like, I'm currently playing through The Witcher 3, and I'm going through with a quest list, and I'm just going through and just checking the quests off as I go through, because I don't want to play The Witcher 3 again.
So you're doing every possibility. Yeah.
I'm like, I want to see as many of the quests as possible, while, and then I'm done. And then I'll be like, finally, I'll put this game to bed. And the problem is the way, because I always play games like this that way. So prior to medication, I will lose energy. So I'll only be I'll play like maybe 40 or 50 hours of the game, and then I can't keep going. Or like, then I put the game down and I'm like, I'll get to this game again later. And then later comes like a year later, and I try to be like, oh, I feel like I want to play The Witcher again. And I started, and I'm like, I have no idea.
So then you started
where
over,
I am.
and then you have the same
Right.
problem. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I have so many uncompleted video games. So far, I'm making my way, and Witcher has toys, so we could talk about Witcher. There are toys.
That's
out
true.
there.
I think they're actually done by McFarlane Toys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
NECA might have some Witcher stuff too.
I think it's McFarlane, right? I think McFarlane.
Is it?
owns them.
Is that how toys are all licenses based, right? So then if you have
Most of them are,
license-
but sometimes you get multiple companies making licenses for the same properties. So like for a while, there were like 2 or 3 companies that were making Fortnite toys. Like McFarlane was making Fortnite toys, and then Jazzwares was making Fortnite toys, and then Hasbro started making Fortnite toys, and then I think McFarlane lost the Fortnite toys, and Jazzwares can only make them for 4-inch, and now Hasbro can only do 6-inch. You know, so like, there's like weird sub licenses like that. Or like, but like Ninja Turtles, you know, you got Playmates making Ninja Turtles. You've got Super 7 making Ninja Turtles based on the original toys, but bigger. Then you've got NECA making Ninja Turtles based on like the comics and video games and the cartoon. And then you've got Loyal Subjects, a newer company making Ninja Turtles as well. So there's like a bunch of different companies making Ninja Turtles at different scales with different like aesthetics and genres tied to them or origins tied to them. So it gets really murky.
It's actually really interesting. I also think what's interesting about that is that so other industries do that, right? They give exclusive rights, or they license out something for like either a temporary period of time or an extended period of time, what have you. But some other industries, when they have that licensing agreement, when the license expires, you generally see those products disappear, right? If I'm like making oranges or whatever, and I get the Star Wars license, I'm throwing like Star Wars characters on my oranges. When I lose my license, those packages are gone, right? Nobody keeps them. But like toys, they have like staying power. So like Galoob and Playmates made Star Trek toys. Those exist. There's Galoob and Playmates on card out there that never been opened. Star Trek, and Star Trek had video games at the same time.
That's true. There you go.
Another good segue.
The only Star Trek video game I've ever played was the first-person shooter Voyager. It was
Elite Force. Only when you need to play.
No, excuse me, Zach.
Oh, the Deep Space Nine one.
Yeah, that's right. There are 2 Star Trek games that Zach and I love. Elite Force. It's a masterpiece of a video game. Its sequel is okay, but not as good as the first. And then Star Trek Deep Space Nine for the Sega Genesis, where you play as Commander Sisko.
Awesome.
And it is a platforming adventure game. So yeah, you have to you play as Commander Sisko, and you have to go solve away missions which are generally platformers, but between away missions you have to investigate mysteries, and you have to walk around, and at some point in time you do play as Odo, and you're able to transform into a rat and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can go through the vents.
You gotta go through the vents of the ship.
For some reason, I'm just imagining the Jurassic Park Genesis game, but with Deep Space Nine characters instead of dinosaurs and Alan Grant.
So the Deep Space Nine one is a side scroller.
Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty much what you're. No, there's a top down Jurassic as well.
The top down one was the Super Nintendo one. The side scrolling one was the Genesis version. I did play the Super Nintendo. I rented the Super Nintendo Next Generation game from Blockbuster, and it was the most disappointing game.
Isn't that game really bad?
Yeah, but you don't know that as a kid. You're like, oh, Star Trek, cool. And it's just a weird series of little mini games that you just switch back and forth between. And I'm like, this isn't fun. This is not fun.
I feel like Star Trek had more misses than hits, where Star Wars had more hits than misses.
Even the weird Star Wars games, like the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, side-scrolling ones, were why am I fighting, a lava snake in a sandcrawler? That doesn't make any sense, but who cares? It's a fun side-scrolling side-scrolling platformer game. Yeah.
My favorite thing is in the Famicom Star Wars game, the one that only came out in Japan. You fight Darth Vader on Tatooine, and then he turns into a scorpion.
A scorpion. Yeah. It's class. You don't remember the movie when Darth Vader went to Tatooine and became a scorpion?
Yeah. And then Luke blew him up.
Yeah.
It was hot, so
It was
he just
hot,
did what he just did.
It's
what
so
he
much
needed
easier
to do.
if I was a scorpion.
But yeah, there was some. There was a 25th anniversary Star Trek game that I thought I was going to like. I don't think I could get into it though. But that one was because Star Trek has that thing where sometimes the game is a spaceship game and sometimes the game is an adventure game. And I think the 25th anniversary tries to do a little bit of both. And I generally don't particularly like the spaceship versions of the games, but I did play some of, and I've been trying to get my brother to play it with me again for the first time. I played the Bridge Commander game that's in VR. So it's Star Trek Bridge Commander, and it's for PC and PlayStation, and it's crossplay and requires the VR suit or set, and you play as somebody in the bridge, and you get your hands, and you have to manipulate the console in front of you, and you can see the other people that you're in the bridge with, and they have you can see their hands going too, and it is great, and it feels like you are on the Star Trek bridge. It's an amazing experience. And then if you have to do your job where the ship can be damaged, if your weapons, you have to be able to actually play the weapons mini game and stuff like that, and the captain has to give commands and and figure out I think the captain handles all the diplomacy and the dialogues and stuff, but it's RNG for missions. So there is actually there's a non-licensed Bridge Commander game that you can play that's not through VR, or it's actually played in real life, where they set up multiple computers that have multiple mini games for stations, and you have to go through scenarios, and they're generally done at conventions. I think
it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, I think I had a friend who had a setup that did that. I feel like it was also called Bridge Commander or something like that, but it was definitely not Star Trek. but the one that's the video game that's VR, and it's great. And I think you can actually even change your outfit so you can be whatever the Star Trek outfit that you want to be, that for the era that you want to be in, kind of thing, or at least for a couple of eras.
What would I do? What era would I go? I think I'd have to go. I always liked the DS9 where the color was up here.
He's pointing to his shoulders for anyone.
My
who's
shoulder,
listening.
right. For the people, for the podcast, for people that are listening to it, I should probably be more descriptive. I also did I like the uniforms from First Contact a lot.
Oh yeah, I just rewatched First Contact. Those uniforms are tight.
It's a great movie, and yeah, the uniforms are great. I think I would go First Contact.
I'm starting to really like the redesign of the TOS uniforms in Strange New
New Worlds.
Oh,
Mwah.
Yeah,
I love that
Strange
show.
New Worlds.
Love that show. It's so good. It's such a good show.
Super good.
You know what? Even everyone's complaining. Even my dad complained about last week's episode because it was silly. I'm like, dude, Star Trek has to have a silly episode. You have to have a silly episode, and this is peak silly, where suddenly they're doing a children's storybook. This is a classic Data in a holodeck episode.
You're right.
You know,
yes,
come on, just enjoy it. Just turn off your brain and enjoy the silly movie that had a surprisingly sad ending.
Between episodes of Strange New Worlds, I've also been rewatching Voyager, and there's plenty of silly episodes.
Silly episodes.
People who complain about silly episodes need to rewatch old Trek.
Well, the problem with newer media in general and older media is with Star Trek seasons, you'd have 24 40-minute episodes, and now you've got 10 40 to 50-ish minute episodes. You don't have a lot of time with the characters, and so I feel like they're trying to do the same amount of stuff in less than half of the time, so it ends up kind of sometimes feeling a little rushed. So I get why maybe they're upset about a silly episode when you only have 10 episodes in a season and one of them is silly, but at the same time, I like that stuff. That
was my complaint about Book of Boba Fett, when you had 2 whole episodes without Boba Fett in them. And I was like, these are cool episodes, but
they're the best episodes of the show.
They are, but I was like, I'm watching the show for Boba Fett.
Right.
I have some opinions about Book of Boba Fett. So my personal opinion, as somebody who loves Boba Fett, and I love Boba Fett as a concept, right?
Sure.
So I think Boba Fett's a cool concept. And I loved Boba Fett prior to him being taken over by Tamora Morrison and stuff like that. I read the Mandalorian trilogy and all that stuff. He's not an exciting protagonist, right? He's not. not super exciting or riveting at all. The bounty, what is it? The Mandalorian Armor trilogy or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the Armor Wars or
yeah,
yeah.
It's a relatively boring series because
Mm-hmm.
Boba Fett always wins, right? Because he predicts everything and he's like 2 steps ahead of the enemy. But I feel like the thing that I think that the book of Boba Fett missed was making Boba Fett not have any sort of arc. Boba Fett in episode 1 and Boba Fett in the last episode is the same character. He doesn't have any arc. There's no redemption arc. There's no like any of that type of stuff. And I feel like if they were just a little more aggressive with him being kind of a jerk in the beginning of the series and really sent home the message that he's a merc and he doesn't really care, maybe shoot the guy that he's, prisoners with or whatever in the beginning. Like they tried to do that with where he like flew after the swoop gang and kind of exacted revenge from a distance. I don't necessarily feel like he was in the wrong because those guys were like evil people, like established evil people.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was just a jerk to nice people, then you could have had a redemption arc with him. And I think overall that would have been, in my opinion, a better experience for people who were Boba Fett fans.
Yeah,
Boba
I
fans.
don't disagree with that. Boba fans. Yeah, I don't
Boba
disagree with
fans.
that at all. I think that's a very good take on what was missing from the show because it felt like it started and he already kind of figured out who he wanted to be post Sarlacc. He's like, yeah, I'm Boba Fett and I don't want to be a bounty hunter anymore, and that's just who I am now, and that's just who he is through the whole series. And you're right because we don't see that growth. Suddenly it's just like Boba Fett's a different guy than we were expecting, I guess.
Yeah.
But even in his flashbacks, he wasn't that different.
No, he wasn't. No.
And I feel like instead of doing flashbacks, they could have just had the time in the past as earlier episodes and the time in the future as later episodes.
Yeah.
And just said in the beginning of the first episode, this is when it takes place and let it go. But I feel like Book of Boba Fett was really just a secret Mandalorian season.
Oh yeah, it's an anime filler is what it is.
Yeah.
It's anime filler.
Yeah, it's Mandalorian 2.5. It's
Yes. Yeah. It's the Garlic Jr. saga from Dragon Ball Z.
Which also has toys.
Yes, it does.
and video games. In fact, the NES Dragon Ball that came out, the first game that came out was called Dragon Power for
Dragon
the
Power,
NES
yep.
because Dragon Ball wasn't established franchise yet. And it's a weird game. Like the localization they did for that game is
weird.
They made some choices. Master Roshi really wants to have Bulma give him sandwiches.
He wants those sandwiches so bad.
Yes, so bad.
No, the first Dragon Ball game I ever played was on my friend had a modded unlocked PlayStation, and we played the fighting game Dragon Ball GT Final Bout.
Oh, okay.
And we played that for hours, even though it was terrible. It's a real bad fighting game.
Yeah.
We didn't care because it was Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball GT, I guess, which I actually hadn't seen at the time, and I regret having seen it.
I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z when it was on Toonami.
Yeah.
So I'm intimately familiar with the beginning of Dragon Ball Z up to Frieza, where then Toonami reset it.
Yeah, they had like the first there was 53 episodes that they made, and like they were heavily edited, and that was originally like 70 or something episodes that they stripped down to 53 episodes, and then once those finished, because I think it was done by a company called like Ocean or something, and then Funimation bought the license in the US and they started doing them uncut, just 1-for-1 episodes dubbed, and that started at I want to say it was the beginning of the Frieza saga and went up from there.
Right, because I know eventually like the Cell saga and all that were on.
Yeah, they were on Toonami and the Majin Buu, all that stuff. Yeah.
I stopped watching it before Funimation took over, so I only watched the lead up to Frieza or whatever, and then I reset and I would watch the other episodes. I really liked Dragon Ball Z at the time that I was watching it,
with that dragon rock the dragon, like
Dragon
that
Ball
opening
Z.
Ball Z, yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon, rock the dragon, come get it.
I mean, I was a fan of those Toonami, like Johnny Quest and DBZ, and it was a good lineup for a while. It's the thing that I miss most about today and the on-demand streaming access is you don't really have Saturday morning cartoons.
You can make your own, which I've tried
You
to do.
can.
But the problem with that is like you don't get introduced to new stuff really, unless someone's
Right.
like, you should watch this. Instead of like, this is something that we're airing and you have to watch it because it's on. It's really hard to find new stuff sometimes. So yeah, I agree with that.
I think I did once because we have cable in our house, and so I've gone through channels on Saturday morning. I'm like, where are the cartoons at? Because I want to watch them. And the cartoon styling today is a little different than
It's different.
I'm like, Zach, I miss the old cartooning style. And he's like, when they were lazy, when it came to like mass producing their like the art style, like X-Men and like even like earlier stuff where, you use the same cell or something again because.
Oh, yeah. And you got like peak laziness with Clutch Cargo where it's just static
Yeah.
images with guys' mouths moving on top of them.
Yep.
And you always knew which part of the wall was
But
going
Because
to
it
break.
was slightly different
Yeah,
colored. Yeah.
my
it was,
favorite
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
Watching old Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
and being like, I bet someone's going to come out of that door because that door
Yeah.
is colored a weird color.
That's why a bunch of like old characters had neckties. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
could keep the head and the body separate so they didn't have to animate as much.
Yeah.
It's like Yogi Bear, things like that. They always had something around their neck so they could
Fred's
switch between them real
ascot.
fast. Yeah.
There is some fun parts about old cartoons, especially when you get like mistakes and stuff like that. I remember there was one classic Scooby-Doo I watched where Shaggy's hair turned like bleach blonde for like a solid 2 frames. It is an era of a lot of effort on part of the animators, but also there was a huge element of laziness when it came to because they had to churn out so much.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those were just pushed out to animation companies like in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Like Korea. Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably was less laziness and more expediency.
Yeah,
That's probably
get something
most
done
of what it
fast.
It was
I know like Ninja Turtles had a lot of issues with like Ninja Turtles, like voices coming out of the wrong turtle or the bandanas switching to the wrong colors. I remember there's one of the first episodes, suddenly there's like 5 turtles and 2 of them are Michelangelo. But then I think like Raphael's not there or something like that. Yeah. There's tons of weird stuff with like Transformers where I think in like season 3 of Transformers, you have all of the Combaticons who turn into Bruticus, but then next to them is also a smaller Bruticus. So you had all of the components of a combiner plus the combiner hanging out next to him. Just like weird stuff like that. Yeah.
I like that a lot of the cartoons came out of toy companies that just desired to sell toys.
Well, you didn't have a proper toy line unless you had a cartoon to sell it.
And it was He-Man. We'll talk about He-Man.
We have to. Yeah.
Which also had video games.
And some of them, there was like a homebrew He-Man game out there too with the NES one.
There was a bunch of them that came out on British computers because for some reason He-Man was very popular for British computers.
Yeah, it's really weird how popular it is.
Yeah. But there was there's like a ROM hack of some game that someone made recent. I don't know how recently it was, but of a He-Man game.
So like He-Man becoming what it became was a lot of just selling to the various toy retailers, and a toy retailer wouldn't want to buy you or your toy if you didn't have supporting marketing materials. So He-Man got a comic because that's what whatever Kids World or whatever that toy company wanted, and then or was something to kind of juice the pie there, and the cartoon came around because of Toys R Us, because Toys R Us wouldn't take He-Man in unless but then they were like, oh, but there's going to be a cartoon, and Toys R Us was like, oh, interesting. And I think that's something we don't see a lot nowadays because retailing competitions kind of dried up a little bit. Like, what do you have for retailers for toys?
Target and Walmart. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And you're not Target and Walmart doesn't care about
They don't care.
you having
No.
supporting marketing materials.
And a lot of Targets have significantly cut down their in-store stock. So if you're getting toys from Target, you're getting them online anyway. Like last time I went into a Target, almost the majority of their toy section was different than I remembered it being.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something cool about some like group of like executives or whatever going in and being like, we need to make a cartoon to sell this toy because that's the only way that we can sell this toy.
It's even more than that though, because there were movies. There weren't even kids movies like Alien and Predator and Terminator. Like these were huge lines when I was a kid. They were not kids movies, but I had toys from all of them. Independence Day, even to a sense Jurassic Park, which again, not a kids movie.
Right.
even though I loved it as a kid, it came out when I was in like 6th grade, and I was absolutely in love with the movie, and I bought the toys, but like it's a PG-13 movie, and I was like 8 or whatever,
Yeah,
10.
it's a scary movie.
Yeah, it's a scary movie.
There was like a Rambo children's TV
Yes.
show.
There was a Rambo cartoon. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
was. And a Chuck Norris cartoon.
Yes,
And
yes.
They had toys
And yes.
And video games.
and video games. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure some of those were made by LJN.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I think they made the Rambo one.
I think they did too. I think it was Rambo. Yep.
There was one that wasn't Sylvester Stallone. There was an SNES Sylvester
It's
Stallone
Cliffhanger.
game. Cliffhanger, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
man,
not
Cliffhanger
good.
was like one of those weird. It was everywhere. They had the movie, they had the games. There was like a book. It was like one of those things that when it came out, it was everywhere, and it was awful. Like none of it was good. But they really marketed Cliffhanger hard.
I just feel like it's so sad now. Like you don't have that. Like who cares? Like you can sell whatever you want. You put a YouTube video together, you get a Kickstarter going, you sell your toys, put it on Amazon, you're done. Before people are like, they're like, we made this great movie. We need more money because merchandising is what a bulk of the money comes from. So like, what's good merchandise? Oh, toys. Well, let's market Terminator toys to kids.
Yes.
Because who cares? Because the kids are going to buy it because it looks
Like
cool.
RoboCop had like a
Yeah.
there was
That's another
tons
one.
of toys and shows for RoboCop, and that I watched RoboCop for the first time a few years ago, and I was like, this movie is messed up to have a toy line.
It's-
like
Yes,
like
definitely.
he
Yeah.
gets torn apart when he's shot. Like it's brutal.
Oh, it's a brutal movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great movie though. I love that movie.
Also, Toxic Crusader.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So there was a cartoon and they had toys. And I remember on TBS, the Toxic Avenger movie coming on, thinking like, oh man, I love Toxic Crusader. I love Toxie. And I was horrified. Like, what am I watching?
Yeah, I watched the non-TV cut of that movie. That movie
Oh,
is also
yeah, I watched
brutal.
the TV cut and it was awful.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how gory
Oh,
the
yeah,
non-TBS version is. Yeah.
There was the video game too.
Yes, there was also the video
Toxic,
game, yep.
Toxic Crusaders.
Zach and I owned that video game growing up, and we were better at playing the game when we were kids than we were as adults.
Yeah, we
Isn't
tried
that
playing it
weird how that works
recently, and
out?
we were
Yeah.
like, "This game is awful."
Like we couldn't get past the second stage, and I swear as a child I could beat that game. I guess you had more time, right? When we were kids, you had
Yeah, and
more
you would
time.
just play the same game over and over and over again because you didn't have a huge library of games with new games on the horizon. I got Horizon Forbidden West for Christmas. I still haven't even popped it in because I never beat the first one, and I'm like, well, I have to beat the first one before I play the second one.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know,
I have that curse. There's a number of games that I haven't played that I was like, oh wow, the third one already came out. I really wanted to play the first one.
but also instead of playing it, I just popped in friggin' Jedi Fallen Order and I'm playing it on the hardest mode, going through the setting again, like, you know, because I love it so much, you know, so it's tough.
Except for The Witcher. The Witcher's the only game that I could just play the third one.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I tried playing the first one and I didn't get very far in it. I own the
No.
third one.
Just play the third one. Watch the television show and then play the third one and you'll be good. And just know that in the video game, Jaskier is Dandelion. That's all you need to know. And then you're good to go. But yeah. So
This is a backdoor pilot is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
yeah.
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
I think there's a lot of content that we can cover.
We have a lot of content.
Yeah.
We kind of content hopped. We like topic hopped so hard.
Yeah. So I think I like that. I like topic hopping because I think
Yeah.
it shows that we can go deep on stuff. The only thing that I'm thinking of is whether we go at each episode talking from a company perspective or from a IP perspective, or we could do both. I mean, we
I was gonna say we could do both depending on
Yeah.
what the
we wanna
topic
talk
is.
about.
Yeah.
So we went on a journey with Mike today, and hopefully Mike had fun going on the journey. To our audience, we will work on another Mornings with Mike, so we will have one released in the future. No big promises on how soon in the future, but in the future nonetheless, because you just got an episode of Morning with Mike if you're listening to this live. If you're going back through our catalog, and it's in the far future, perhaps there'll be more episodes. But at this time, you just got an episode, so give us some time so we can kind of collate our thoughts and ideas and schedule again. But we had a lot of fun. Hopefully Mike had a lot of fun.
I did.
We'll go through and we'll pick a topic for episode 1 of Mornings with Mike, and hopefully everyone has a great day. We need a good sign off. We can't do don't play games like my brother, because that's a trademark sign off for another podcast.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of something, man. I got nothing off the top of my head. Yeah, have a great day. I don't
Have a great
It's morning, right? Or
day.
it's more. It's
It
so
is
early in the
morning.
morning.
Enjoy your cup of coffee.
Enjoy your cup of coffee. I'm
Enjoy
going
your
back to
cup
bed.
of coffee.